Okay, and today we're kind of looking at participatory budgeting and thinking about how we can actually, you know, move online, how we can actually develop the knowledge, skills, and tools to actually develop an online PB process. We're going to hear from the Gorbals Ideas Fund about an online process that they ran recently, and again, Joe's going to talk about how they overcame digital exclusion in order to actually get people on board in the Gorbals area of Glasgow. And again, they had quite a lot of input on that. We've got the Renfrewshire Council's participatory budgeting process, where there's a lot of money put into you know, getting young people involved in decision making within their area. And the Glasgow Disability Alliance will be talking about some of the barriers that the people with disability face, and ethnic minority groups but as well might face in order to get involved in participatory budgeting. So we should be able to give those are really quite interesting discussions. Throughout today, up to 12 o'clock, you will get to hear each of those. You'll stay in your group while the speaker actually moves through and comes into your group as well. So Sam will take care of that as we move through. So you'll get the opportunity to hear from all three of those presentations. Okay. And really just wanted to talk about participatory budget in Scotland in a minute. You know, having been involved in PB for a wee while, we were actually really getting ahead of steam before COVID-19, the dreaded COVID-19 hit. We were really getting lots of projects involved. Lots of towns throughout Scotland were coming up with their own participatory budgeting processes. They were going from year to year and learning from that. And actually, you know, so it's really just for me today is about actually, well, how do we build on that in this new environment, in this digital world that we're in at the minute? Hopefully not for too long, but actually we can learn some important skills that'll take us forward when we maybe can use mixed methods when our communities open up again. So I just wanted to say, just set the scene. The Scottish Government has committed £7 million over the last couple of years to participatory budgeting. And that's enabled 122,000 people to vote and have their say on the dispersal of £6.6 million throughout the country. Other funders include health and social care, wind farms, charitable trusts. We're starting to see a lot of different kind of funders coming on board, which is actually really quite heartening. And they want to see the communities make decisions about what are the important priorities for them. And there's been a number of evaluations about participatory budgeting. And again, there's still the drivers for PB in Scotland, so it's still very clear that the Scottish Government wants to see PB and actually appreciates it as a useful tool. And again, the Glasgow Centre for Population Health argues that community engagement and participation, which underpinned by asset-based working and participatory budgeting principles. There's a COSLA framework agreement, which is still under scrutiny at the minute, but as it stands right now, there's a 1% commitment to participatory budgeting to the end of 2021. There's the Equity Fund in schools, where PB is seen as an innovative and effective mechanism to engage parents and pupils. And then there's the Scotland's National Action Plan on Parental Involvement, which it looks at the planning processes and how to spend funding, and again is looking at participatory budgeting as one approach to do that within schools. So there is across the board, there's a lot of interest in participatory budgeting and actually making that happen in practice. So really today is about actually your learning and being able to ask questions in the actual breakout rooms. So we're really just going to go straight into the breakout rooms just now so that we don't waste any more time looking at the kind of background. And we'll be coming back after our first workshop for a wee bit of feedback, okay? So Sam, Sam, you probably just need a wee bit more time just to kind of allocate people to
no, we're all good.
The breakout rooms. Okay. Okay, then let's go straight to the breakout rooms. And those presenters, if you can just introduce yourselves from the start, and then we'll go from there. Needless to say, there was lots of discussions going on there, and I know that time will have been tight in all of your workshops. So please bear with us in terms of how we've structured today. I really just wanted to get a wee bit of feedback from the main group. But where we left off, the workshop that I was in Renfrewshire Council's workshop, and we were just talking about the digital PB that they ran within the schools and some of the limitations of working there. I just wanted to, maybe we'll just start with John. John, what were some of the kind of key elements that we discussed?
Thanks for that. I was just quickly writing some down there. So we're looking at the way forward, and I think I'm being biased here, but I very much think that you can't go fully digital in this. That there does need to be a human element of like promoting it, doing the face-to-face things, and I think that was kind of missing there as well. Also, like if you have some sort of champion towards PB as well, it kind of really does help. Just promote it, that you've got someone who's doing that. As well, like, and just I think that's all I got written down at the moment. So not
you did say promoting having a digital champion in the schools. Who do you imagine that would be? Would that be a particular teacher, or is that young people?
Either or both. Young people, like information like that does usually come better from young people to young people rather than being a teacher. But if you've got a teacher or a school member of staff that can support the young people in order to promote it in schools, I think that'd be a really good way forward as well. People councils or something like that could be the champion for that school.
Okay. Isla or Hannah, could you give us a wee bit of feedback from your workshop? What were some of the kind of themes?
Yeah, so we felt very rushed in our workshop. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah, okay.
But we will have to rattle through our presentation quicker than in the next one. But we got some really good comments from a few folk in the group saying, is just similar to what you're saying there, John. It's not kind of online versus offline. It needs to kind of be at least a bit of both. Potentially, and we were kind of emphasizing the levels of offline support that people need in order to engage online, and some suggestions about like using SMS voting as a way of kind of combating a lot of the digital exclusion, but sort of backing that up as well with maybe postal face-to-face. I'm trying to capture. I think there was a request for sort of sharing the learning as well about what people's experiences are of tackling digital exclusion, and kind of techniques and solutions that have maybe been developed, and trying to capture that and share that more widely.
Okay, thank you. And Joe, what was your kind of discussions?
Again, I think felt really sort of rushed, and I'll need to rattle through my presentation a bit quicker. I think it was about the conversation really was sort of just getting started, and what we were gathering was other people's sort of experiences of using digital tools, and the fact that other people in the workshop have used different things. And I think from a purely selfish point of view, my feedback would be, I think we all need to get together and figure out how to do it, and are we doing it best? Because I can sit here and tell you about my experiences, which I will, the difficulties and the challenges that we've had and the things we try and include. But I think it seems that there might be people out there who've already overcome them, or have used systems, and we might be able to advise each other. So that would be my sort of takeaway for that first workshop, is we need to just chat more about what's going on here. We're all sort of doing it in these discrete sort of silos, if you like, and I think if we join it all up, we might find something that works.
Okay. Anyone else got any thoughts that you want to add in from your workshop?
I was just wondering, can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I can hear you a wee bit. If you just speak up, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if there's been any case studies together of successful engagement with PB, and if they could be shared with other schools and other PB organisations.
I'm not aware of any case studies at the minute in terms of using digital approaches exclusively. I know that on the PB Scotland website, you'll find lots of information about some mixed methods in terms of online and using face-to-face, but exclusively digital. I think we're just starting to learn a bit more about that.
And is there any thoughts of using app technology to help engage young people?
Sorry, Alan, what kind of technology?
Developing an app.
An app, right. I'm not sure. I don't know who would develop that at the minute. Yeah, I know there's lots of different tools that are being used. And Joe, you were using a particular tool which was used in Iceland.
Yeah, so it's Open Active Voting, which is developed by the Citizen Foundation. It's open source software, so yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to set up.
Right.
And it's not just like downloading an app. It would be wonderful if we could just have an app to download.
Yeah.
I would wholly support that.
Everybody, I know that there might be more to say, but I wonder if we could maybe forego our 10-minute break and actually just go straight back into the workshops if you're okay with that, and that way we can have a bit more time for discussion and reflection on that. Would everybody be okay with that?
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
My name's Margaret Simpson, and I'm just joined. I've been trying all morning. My internet's been dropping all morning. There's a problem in our region, and it might go again. So
okay.
I just wanted to say that there is an app that can be designed by Microsoft very easily, and I'll send a note on how you do it, and it can be done by anybody. So I will circulate it.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Margaret.
No bother. Sorry about that, but I'm just getting my word in case it drops again.
Oh no, that's really useful. If you forward that to me, I'll make sure that everybody gets it.
I will do, Paul. Thank you.
Okay. Is everybody okay just to go straight back into workshops again? When you have a bit more time. We'll certainly have 30 minutes in each of the workshops. Okay. Sam, are you okay with sending us straight back in? And on that point, we've got a couple of minutes left, and really at this stage, it's just a wee bit of finding what were some of the kind of key things that jumped out to you. Were there any light bulb moments that's going to inform your own practice? Are any comments that you want to make on anything that was said in any of the three workshops? Okay, I'm not.
All
right, Gavin.
Yeah, I was just saying before everyone came in, I'm really pleased to hear people talk about the balance between face-to-face and digital. And I remember at a few events similar to this when we were able to meet face-to-face, it seemed to be a perception that it was either or. It would either be face-to-face or digital. And now we seem to be hearing this understanding that it can be both. And actually, although it's disappointing this year, it's reassuring in many ways that that because people have tried to do it digitally, but not been able to go door to door or face to face or go into schools from our point of view, they are seeing that drop in numbers. And that to me has always been the correct balance, that you would go and visit those communities who maybe couldn't come to you or couldn't access it themselves, but you'd have an iPad in your hand, and then you'd still have the vote happening straight away, no problems with counting paper ballots and everything like that. But it shows that going digital is not resource free. It's still an intensive process, and still a process that requires maybe some volunteers, but actually sort of professional staff who know what they're doing in terms of community engagement.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well. And again, I think we in the last workshop with Joe, we were kind of touching on that point of the support that's actually needed and where community organisations can get that from, and and in order to stop, as Oliver so astutely pointed out the burnout of really valuable community development workers in our communities. God knows we're seeing less of them at the minute, but we don't want to burn out what's left, you know. So really important that we have a good think about where that support comes from and what form it comes in. Gordon?
Hi, thanks. It was just really to echo what Gavin said there, that just that need for the balance, and just having been aware of that for some time, just the balance between face-to-face and digital. And just examples, like long before COVID, where some communities have felt that they've maybe been kind of disadvantaged, and so where there's been the face-to-face voting event, but and even though some maybe local authorities or the organisation has helped try to put on transport, but as soon as you have it in one place, and especially communities maybe quite rural, that then yeah, that can be challenging. Whereas if you've got that balance of and I suppose that focus on that additional support for those to engage in other ways such as digital, then yeah, I think it can only be a good thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Gordon. Anyone else want to chime in? Jez? Sorry, I can't see everybody's hands. If you use the hands up function in the tools, or even just your hands on the, yeah. So Jez.
I just wondered, given that we've been here nearly 2 hours on Zoom, if anybody's explored the opportunity of using kind of Zoom presentations to kind of mimic the face-to-face event, but do it online instead with a voting platform alongside that.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah. So what?
Paul,
sorry, go on.
So I can't find the hands.
So go on then, Jackie. Yeah.
The point I think that kind of struck me most in the last presentation, the discussion that Olive started was, I feel a little bit overwhelmed by all of that I've heard this morning in terms of how labour intensive a lot of the digital route is, and it seems that, you know, for most of us, it would be ideal if there was a tried and tested solution, a suite of options that we could tap into that would allow us to, in some way, speed up the digital process, because yeah, without doubt it is here to stay, and we have to move in that direction, albeit alongside face-to-face. But to actually start that from scratch, even though I've heard some really super ideas, I still don't quite know how to begin the process. Yeah, no, that's an important point, and again, it came up in a couple of workshops about having a tool that we can all go to and use, and certainly what I'm hearing is people using lots of different tools, but maybe we need to think about how we can have something a bit more standard. Sally?
Yeah, just a quick response to Jez's last comment. I mean, Leith Chooses dates back 11 years now. It was Leith Decides originally, and the first event had people making a pitch from the stage. But it was felt that really, really disadvantaged people who didn't find it easy to do any kind of public speaking and presentation. And ever since then, we've had the market stall approach very much as our modus operandum. And we've been planning this coming Leith Chooses, and we've been talking about making video clips about projects or potentially having people present on a Zoom meeting. But we felt that was actually even worse than a live presentation from a stage, in terms of putting additional pressure on people and potentially disadvantaging them or even discouraging them from applying at all. And so on that basis, we've decided not to go with that idea, although it does seem attractive at first sight. That's all I wanted to say, really.
Jez, you were going to come in on that?
I absolutely agree, and it, you know, it was just an off-the-cuff idea. I suppose you could have rounds of breakout rooms to replicate the market stall, where you put people into small groups for 3 or 4 minutes to hear an idea, and then another small group. But I absolutely take the point that it's not the same, but somehow we need to try and find the crossover points between on and offline. So it was just an idea.
Yeah, good. Any other thoughts, ideas, light bulb moments? Donald?
Yeah, two things. One was what I've learned is that you've got to use every method under the sun and not just rely on one. And the other thing which concerns me is I've always been worried about the digital divide, but I'm now more than worried. And I think that really we need a massive investment in bridging that digital divide before we, move forward with the digital world in any great way. So I think that has to come first.
Yeah. That was certainly true in Isla and Hannah's presentation about the digital divide for people with disabilities and learning difficulties, and how we have to, the things that we need to do to overcome those. We're nowhere near where we need to be. And again, I don't think many people seem to be surprised. We all know people who aren't online. Any other comments? Oliver?
Yeah, sorry, that was my dog, so apologies. Two comments. Just building on Sally's point and Jess's point, in some of the presentations we did hear that some people are thinking how to improve the quality of the conversation and the dialogue and the deliberation around things, and that's where trying to use things like Zoom and other platforms might help. And now we have people even here in this room, for instance, Sam from SCDC is in the production team of the large scale citizens assemblies for Scotland. So there is expertise being built in terms of how to do these things better. And that wouldn't require necessarily people from the individual projects to have to present, which can be daunting. Although again, one could argue in good old fashioned community organizing, building the capacity of people to be able to present will be part of that journey. But okay, we are where we are. But there are other ways. People don't need to necessarily hear about the specific projects, but they might want to hear about the state of their neighborhood or the state of their community, a presentation of broader evidence about key issues and what actions are being taken, where are the gaps in policy and services, something that presents with a broader context of information for them, people be able to make a good informed choice on the projects they want to support. So I wouldn't discard that option, from the outset. And I think we need to experiment with more opportunities for dialogue. And the second point, building on Donald's point about the digital divide, we often take the digital divide as a starting point, but arguably PB could be one of the things that helps to overcome the digital divide. Because if we accept that more of life is going to be happening digitally, regardless of the pandemic, then surely digital access and digital participation will eventually be seen as a basic human right. So PB and the process of developing PB has a role to play in bridging the divide. And that's beginning to happen in Scotland, actually. And there's some really innovative things that we are learning through the citizens' assemblies, for example, on how to bring in people who have never touched a computer.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. Any comments on that? Alistair?
Just as an update to what Oliver was saying, remember we've got Connecting Scotland, who have been providing free iPads, laptop, tablets, and free internet access, which has certainly helped my community quite a lot, and our local communities have all got that. So we are currently engaging with a lot of those who have been isolated from the internet superhighway, and we are slowly but surely getting them, some of them, to join in. But there is still that huge fear of everything being stolen or lost. And one, God love her, one woman said, "I don't want to break the internet," and she was quite serious, So you've got to. But I think, as Oliver quite rightly said, I think we're slowly getting there, but we still have to remember that we have to have every option open to ensure that we do engage with the communities that we serve.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't find the hand up button.
Okay, no, it's fine. Just go on.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I just wanted to echo what various people have said. Oliver latterly there as well. And yeah, Connecting Scotland is such an important drive. It's really been a moment for us to to realize that that investment of time and resource is so very worth it to get to start tackling that digital divide. But just as a part of what Oliver said about deliberation, for those of our members who've been able to get online with support and tech, we've been able to have some really fantastic quality discussion sessions, feeding into like the COVID response with the government, the Social Renewal Advisory Board, the Social Care Inquiry. We've had sort of 40 or 50 disabled people on a Zoom meeting with the guy that's leading the inquiry, Derek Feely, or with Cabinet Secretary Government, just that's the group that I work with most often in our membership are the people who speak out about those issues. They're drivers for change, and I'm not going to lie, on Zoom everybody is so focused and we get so much done in 2 hours that you wouldn't get done in a 2-hour physical meeting, because people go off and talk in pairs and they're not writing it down and they're not capturing it, and here everybody's listening to one speaker at a time in your small breakout rooms. And we're getting absolutely fantastic input from people through this platform. So it's so worth doing, but we also know that there's people for whom it's not including their voices. So we're backing it up with the offline methods as well.
Jez, thank you for that. Bye, Gavin. Jez, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm sorry, I feel I'm hogging the conversation a bit, but I just think there's a real opportunity with linking some of the deliberative stuff like the Citizens Assembly and the use of sortition to bring together diverse groups of people to co-design the PB processes and take part in some of those bits where sometimes it's just being delivered from the top. So I think some of the future is, how do we sequence, say, a deliberative democracy process, which then makes recommendations, which are then put online for the mainstream vote about how to invest significant public money. We shouldn't be seeing it as one space, but as a whole set of democratic innovations.
And on that point, also, Jez, you pointed out that this is happening on a large scale in Paris. There are examples where PB has been embedded, quite deliberately into society. So we've got the 1% mainstream budget, which we need to find out what's going to be happening with that. But maybe there are drivers that will build in, PB into a bit more of a surer footing within Scottish society.